Welcome to the new episode of r/malicious compliance story is posted by the frustrated poet. If you leave the ward, we will discharge you. Dad is awesome, and this experience left me with a healthy skepticism of medical professionals, which was lucky, as when I had my hysterectomy in 2021, I was refused opioids the day after the surgery and had to advocate for myself. Those who don't want to believe the story, that's cool. Have a great day. TLDR. Dad wasn't allowed to leave his surgical recovery ward when he had a heart palpitations and ended up calling 999 from his hospital beds. This is a story from over a decade ago which has always stuck with me and that I was reminded of by another post here. In 2011, my darling daddy had to have surgery to remove one of his kidneys due to a large cyst. 2 days after his surgery, while he was on the ward recovering, he began to feel unwell, but thankfully it was something he was used to that could be resolved easily. Heart palpitations. Now Dad has been having heart palpitations since the mid-90s, and while it was scary in the early days, by 2011 it was a really simple routine: go to A&E and get an injection from the cardiac team at the hospital. Sometimes he would have a normal sinus rhythm, but would be having palpitations nonetheless, identified by the feeling in his body. The junior doctor on shift took an ECG and promptly informed him that he was not having a heart palpitation. He had a normal sinus rhythm. He tried to explain that he had been having palpitations for 15 years. He knows what a palpitation feels like, and that all she needed to do was call the cardiac team. This was a semi-regular occurrence, about once a year, and the heart nurses all knew him by name and loved him. He's quite a character. The junior doctor refused to page the cardiac team, repeating that he wasn't having palpitations. For a couple of hours, Dad sat there in panic, getting more and more distressed. It was outside of visiting times, so he was alone. He told the junior doctor that he would make his own ways to the cardiac team, and she told him, if you leave the ward, we will consider you absconded, and we will formally discharge you again. This was 2 days after losing a major organ. This is where the malicious compliance comes in. Dad called 999 from his hospital bed. When they asked for his address, he said, "That's an interesting question. Normally it's question is private, but right now I'm on ward X at private hospital." Shocked, the call handler asked what had happened, and Dad relayed the whole thing to them. The call handler escalated the call to a manager who asked to speak to the junior doctor and gave her a massive dressing down. Her face grayed as she realized the gravity of what was happening. She immediately arranged for a porter to take him to A&E, UK emergency room, to be assessed by the cardiac team, and what do you know? He was, in fact, having palpitations and had been for several hours. A quick injection later his heart was back to normal, and we were all left stunned by the whole thing. I was in my 20s at the time, and Dad was my superhero, and seeing him crying in a hospital bed, looking so scared and small will never leave me. I will never forget what that doctor did, and I'll never forgive her. She never even apologized to him, or to us. Dad could probably have taken the hospital, the doctor and the trust to court, but that's just not his bag, and he just let it go like water off a duck's back. 12 years later, and he's healthy and happy, but I honestly thought I might lose him because of an arrogant junior doctor and her stubbornness. Second story is posted by manbadplane69420. I can't use a shopping cart, but I can put some items on the checkout counter. As you wish. About a year or two ago I did a lot of shopping at a grocery store for work. Sometimes I would need to grab items from the liquor store attached inside the grocery store. The liquor store operated as its own separate little store with its own checkout, but it was still owned by the grocery store, and you had to enter from inside the grocery store. When you enter the liquor store, there is a sign that you must leave your shopping cart outside. This normally makes sense as the liquor store is small, and having people and carts all around would cause quite the traffic jam. On to the day in question. On my list for this shopping trip, I had a full load of liquor to get for the bar at work, and for a holiday party, I probably needed around 15 handles of assorted booze. As I walked into the liquor store for this shopping trip, there was no one else around except for the cashier. Knowing I had a large number of items to purchase, I asked if I could bring my empty cart in and park it next to the checkout spot so I could load it with all the liquor bottles I needed to purchase. I was met with a very nasty, "No, don't you see the sign?" I tried to explain the situation and how I needed many more bottles than I could possibly carry, plus there were no handheld baskets around for me to try and manage. The cashier wasn't having it and told me if I really couldn't carry everything at once, I could place some items on the checkout counter while I went to get more. This is where the malicious compliance comes in. I only needed about 15 bottles to cover the month's supply of booze, but I figured why not go ahead and get stocked up for next month. I spent about 15 minutes running back and forth from the shelves to the counter, placing more and more items down, taking up the whole counter. As I was doing this, a few customers came in, and I watched the cashier struggle to work around my items in order to scan and check out the other customers. The look on the cashier's face was glorious as he had to work around a problem he created for himself. When I finally did check out, the cashier didn't have enough room on the checkout counter to scan and bag my items. So get this, the cashier then told me I could bring my cart in to put the bottles in to make room on the counter. I jokingly asked if he knew that carts were prohibited in the liquor store, but he didn't laugh at that one. After a few seconds of awkward silence, I went and got my cart anyways, because it would have been a huge inconvenience to me to run back and forth from the counter to my cart. I genuinely understand the store's policy on this, but sometimes there needs to be exceptions to the rule. TLDR, I was told I couldn't use a cart to hold a large number of items in the liquor store, but was told I could put items on the checkout counter if I couldn't hold everything. I filled the entire checkout counter with bottles to the point the cashier wasn't able to ring other customer up. Third story is posted by Zambia guy. We only do deliveries over the phone. Well, okay. Insert the customary sorry for formatting. I'm new to this subreddit and TLDR at the bottom. So I went to a famous Portuguese chicken chain restaurant / takeaway. They are known for doing deliveries in my area, especially during the COVID-19 outbreak. My grandparents live alone and aren't taking any visitors due to the outbreak. Now I was close to the restaurant and I wanted to order a meal for my grandparents without me having to go to their house, because it would involve me physically meeting them, whereas the restaurant delivery would adhere to strict COVID-19 prevention measures. At the restaurant, I placed my order and asked for it to be delivered to their house. The robot-like cashier said that it wouldn't be possible to deliver food to a house when the customer orders the food at the restaurant. I thought it was a misunderstanding and made it clear that I would pay the full delivery charge and that all that would change is the manner in which the food was ordered. I didn't want my grandparents to have to pay for the meal and also didn't want to meet them due to COVID-19. After pleading and quite a frustrating back and forth with the cashier, she raised her voice at me and said, "Sir, we only do delivery orders over the phone." Cue malicious compliance. With a wide smile on my face, I thanked her and stepped away from the till. I called the delivery number only for her to answer the call right in front of me. I placed the entire order all over again whilst we stared at each other in what must have been humiliating for her. Her colleagues at this point all began staring and some giggling. After placing the order, I once again went up to her and asked her to pay for the order I just placed. She, at this point, saw the silliness of the situation and let me pay, just to be done with all this. Suffice to say, my grandparents managed to eat the chicken. TLDR, cashier didn't allow me to order in person, so I ordered over the phone, but still in person. Fourth story is posted by Tull. Throw me away. Send my laptop back after a layoff? Okay. I was recently laid off from my remote job. It was a last-minute video chat with HR, and then my entire access was cut off as soon as the call ended. No time to say goodbye to anyone. No time to retrieve any personal files from my laptop. Severance. But then the kicker was telling me that I need to ship their laptop back ASAP. I've had other companies send prepaid laptop boxes to return equipment or just say to keep it. This company expected me to waste my time to package up the computer and then find a place to ship it back. Seems like a lot to ask of someone you just got rid of like a piece of trash. They gave me their shipping account code and told me I can just charge it on their account. I eventually get around to going across town, only to be told the code doesn't work and I have to pay out of pocket. At this point I'm very annoyed with this process. The company tells me I can pay out of pocket and they'll reimburse me. Okay, I can do that. So I found the most expensive option I could find and added some bathrooms tiles into the box to make it extra heavy and had it shipped. I also shipped my mouse and power supply separately in the same expensive fashion with extra weight. Total cost $840. Cost of laptop probably about $500. Anyways, F them. I did as I was told. Maybe next time they won't fire people and then expect them to drive around town to return their stuff. Thank you.